In 2025, and in particular towards the end of the year, I started noticing some trends in the type of content that I would get on my YouTube algorithm. On the one hand, I kept seeing videos of people trying to create their own personal curriculum for next year and just attempting to get more self-teaching, self-education things through free and accessible means such as reading craft books or also watching long-form content videos on YouTube. I've also seen videos mentioning how there's more and more yearning for long-form content and that people are either creating longer-form content on TikTok directly or going from TikTok to places like YouTube where you have long-form content. And yes, I would say that self-education and the ability to learn new things has never been more accessible and free than now. Another evidence of this trend is definitely how on TikTok people are saying that the trend is going towards self-experts and expertise is starting to become trendy. And although we do live in an age of misinformation and it is so easy to get access to the wrong thing, we do have access to a ton of free educational tools, and YouTube is definitely one of them, and you will find experts on topics on YouTube. Sitting in a physical classroom is not the only way to learn anymore, and even reading non-fiction craft books is not the only way to learn anymore. So here's the top 5 best videos for me in 2025 that have taught me something, rewired my brain, or simply inspired me. In 5th place, I'm gonna put a video by Mina called Please Stop Filming Strangers. This video is about 40 minutes long. I really like Mina's style because she definitely includes a lot of sources and the editing style is great to keep my attention and to keep me entertained. But that video definitely made me think of the way that we all have phones on us and we're constantly filming scenes outside that include strangers, and that filming strangers has become really commonplace to the point that we sort of live in a panopticon sort of society. So I love that concept and I never thought about it that way before. The panopticon was a prison, and I'm gonna very briefly, very roughly explain it, but essentially the idea was that you would have a guard in a central position and then you would have the prison cells all around him so that you could be watched at any and all times. And the idea is that you didn't really know when you would be watched, so you couldn't really misbehave. That was the point of it. And society has become very panopticonic, I guess, in a similar manner, because you could be filmed at any point doing something that someone could deem bad and just unethical or cancelable or whatever else the public court of opinion decides is not okay. There's several good examples in this video. One that I was thinking of in particular, and I think she does mention it in the video, is Couch Guy on TikTok. There was a point when this girl filmed her reunion with her boyfriend that was long distance, and she surprised him by arriving there without telling him in advance and filmed the encounter, and a lot of people decided that his reaction was very poor and that it was a red flag and that it showed that he didn't really want to be with the girl. All I could think of around that time was that social media is not the place where you see the reality of people's true relationships. People will be so quick to judge. So anything that gets portrayed in a certain manner just because it was taken on video at the wrong moment, or cutting the beginning and the end just so you get the exact segment that you need to prove a certain point, all of that is a way to manipulate people's opinions, and I just don't want to fully trust it. But I've also heard people from Gen Z saying that they don't feel as free as perhaps my generation as millennials did when we went out clubbing and had our nights out back in our early 20s, because we didn't have this constant presence of phones and social media with us every time we went out. We would have to go chase pictures on the club's website after we'd encountered the photographer during the night, or maybe a Facebook page that had all the pictures, and we would be like, okay, I found us, tag you and your friends so that you could find them again. So that video definitely made me think a lot about the current state of society and what it does to our mental health as well. In 4th place, I'm going to put this video by Koi called If I Started a YouTube Channel in 2026, I'd Do This. I watched this video very recently. I think it came out this month and I watched it this month, and It was just fascinating because it's exactly the point I'm trying to make by making this top 5, is that people want more education related content, and that people are yearning for the classroom. It's not the minds anymore. The children do not yearn for the minds. The children yearn for the classroom. I really like the way that this video is set up because it's the discussion between, I believe, their brothers on the channel. And the way they explore what content is going to look like in 2026 was just really interesting and educational for me. And the point that they're making is that there is going to be more and more educational videos, and that's what's going to blow up in 2026. It's made me rethink what my channel should look like, or what I want it to look like. And I also think that's why in 2026 I'm going to be looking forward to making more videos that are geared towards educational content, and not in the sense of I'm going to be a teacher in a classroom, but in the sense of I want to pass on anything that I may have learned while teaching myself how to write. A lot of the things that I discovered while trying to figure out how to be a writer were things I had to dig for, and I would love to leave it better than I found it, and to just give people some of that information that I found as much as possible in a space where they can find it easily. And I think that's what YouTube is for and what it was initially for. So I definitely would love to participate in that chain of information being passed on. In third place, I'm gonna put another video by Mina, which is You Don't Need to Be Productive. This video, if anything, was more of a self-reflection moment for me. As much as it talks about things like how easy access, such as having your emails in your phone and having your phone on you at all times, ends up giving you more work than it ends up aiding you, and things like how AI at the moment was supposed to be something else, that just like back in the day being able to work from home, etc. All of those things, these technological advances are supposedly to help the workforce. They end up giving us more work because they're just ending up saying you now should be doing more in less time because you have these tools. So this video was more about that, but it also covered aspects of, you know, the side hustle and things about how we think that we have to be constantly productive, and we see hobbies as bad if they're not productive hobbies and things that produce something such as results. It was really interesting as a concept because that is definitely a view that I have ended up having of myself as well. And it makes us so hard on ourselves when we think of hobbies that way. As someone who writes as a hobby primarily, obviously I would love to sell a book one day, but I do have a full-time job and I'm happy to do this on the side. There are so many moments when I will sit down on the couch and do nothing and feel bad because I'm not being productive for myself. It makes me feel like I'm not utilizing my time correctly when I do nothing, even though doing nothing is actually perfectly fine and should be a good thing. And again, I do really love how Mina has a lot of sources and that they're all quoted in the description of her videos, so you can look at all the different articles or books or anything else that she's using for her videos. In second place, I'm going to put Hello Future Me's video on how democracy really dies. Hello Future Me is a channel I was made aware of initially because it's by Timothy Hickson, who writes books and videos on world building for fantasy writers. And I mean, any other types of writers. I think it fits perfectly fine in my research as someone who loves sci-fi as well. There's a lot of great information that can be reutilized in other genres. And obviously his video was particularly relevant to the current events that are happening at the moment, especially in the United States. But I really like that a lot of his examples take media and just talk about how democracy dying is represented in TV shows and movies, etc. In general, it's also just great to watch content being made by someone who's so much smarter than I am. The video itself is also nicely split in several parts, which makes it easy to follow. I really appreciated the way that it was composed and also edited, beautifully edited. There is so much to keep your attention on screen as well, which is exactly how I like my educational content. Finally, in first place, it's not just the one video, it's a whole series. It is the Brandon Sanderson's lecture, the 2025 version. So Brandon Sanderson is a writer of, an author of SFF, so sci-fi and fantasy, primarily fantasy. He's worldwide famous and very, very successful. And he also does a lecture at, I think it's BYU. Yes, it is BYU, which is Brigham Young University. He does a lecture there for students who want to learn how to write fantasy in particular, and the lecture is fully on YouTube for free, the entirety of it. Obviously, you don't get to participate in the writing groups, and you don't get to have, you know, the critique and the corrections or any of the sort of stuff you would get from him as a teacher, but you get all of the information that other students get in the lecture, and that's just brilliant. I've only watched the 2025 version, but there is an older version as well available, and some people prefer the first version. Doesn't matter. You can watch both if you want to, and you can learn so many interesting bits about how to become a writer. The fact that this is out there for free and that it feels like a proper university course, because it is amazing, and it's just, I feel so privileged that I'm able to follow his course in one way. This year I watched it in its entirety with my friend Stig, and then we discussed it on his channel because we've been doing that a lot with craft books, and this was an outlier where we thought, let's do this with the entirety of Brendan Sanderson's lecture. And I definitely think I learned a lot from it, so I would recommend it to anyone who wants to become a fantasy writer, because it covers so many important topics and so many of the bases. So to me, even though it's an entire series, it deserves the first spot in this little list for sure. But yes, as we're predicting that educational content is going to be top content in 2026, this is a really exciting time, and I hope that we get to see a lot more examples like the Brendan Sanderson's lecture, but also more video essays like the other ones that I mentioned today. I want to learn more about a variety of topics in 2026, and I will definitely be seeking out content like this, especially content that has a lot of sources that I can actually verify and not feel like I'm being scammed into learning misinformation, of course. But I'm also going to be talking a little bit more about personal curriculums very soon, especially for self-learning writers. And if you're excited for that, definitely subscribe to my channel. That would make me very happy. On that note, see you in the next one.